friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I've got a really good podcast here for you that's going to help those of you who are using email. And gosh, if you're not using email for your business, come on. If you're in my coaching groups, you know, in my inner circle, we have resources there, but you have got to be using an email list to, well, both to nurture relationships with potential clients and to be able to sell eventually to those clients for your business. If you're not using email, you are really missing out. This is what, and the reason we're going to do this podcast, by the way, is because one of the women in my mastermind asked me about email the other day, and she was asking like, what's the rule for how many links you can have in it? And I'm going to address that in a second. But, and I was telling people in the mastermind, by the way, if you're not in my mastermind, why not? You can still join. It's a rolling 6 months, which means, yes, we started last month, but we still have had people joining. And so the 6 months starts whenever you start. Does that make sense? So it's not like you've missed anything. If you're like, Jen, tell me about your mastermind. Well, send me a DM on Instagram and I will tell you about said mastermind. But I was telling the women in my mastermind, I have, 500,000 followers on social media. I have just a little less than 100,000 people on my email list. Okay. So I have 5 times more than social media than I do the email list. 75% of my sales come from my email list. They come from my email list. So if you are sitting at your spot right now and you're like, oh, I sell these really cute earrings and all I have to do is post on, Instagram and I sell 10 pairs. I'm telling you, if you are not also trying to sell your earrings in an email right now, you are leaving money on the table because more sales come from email than social media every day of the week. Please don't forget about an email list. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you about like so hopefully now you're like, okay, fine, I'll get an email list. But this actual podcast is for those of you who need to know about like what makes up the perfect email that you're going to send to the people on your list. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So you've got an email that converts into sales and things. Okay. So let's talk about email. All right. I'm going to give you some quick, like rapid fire points. I'm just like cutting straight to it. I'm giving you the meat and potatoes today. So grab a pen and paper because I'm probably going to rapid fire through all of my points. Okay. Because if you're like, I just don't know, like, I have an email list. I rarely email them. Like, I don't know. What do I send them? Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. If you're like, gosh, I don't want to bother them. Listen, if somebody gave you their email, it's because they want you to bother them in quotation marks. You're not bothering them. You're doing what they gave you their email, knowing full good and well, you are going to be emailing them. So you've got to keep up your end of the deal by actually sending an email. So that's part of it. But then a lot of times people just like, I don't know what to email them about. Okay, well, so some emails need to be nurturing and giving, unless you're selling a product. And then if you're selling a product, you need to be giving people an opportunity to buy the product. I mean, I tell you, I am on an email list for a lot of different influencers and a lot of different products. I never get an email from the Red Dress Boutique and go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that they are stinking trying to sell me another swimsuit, another cute romper. Like, how dare they? No, I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally need this for vacation. I'm so glad I got this email today. So first of all, reframe how you're thinking about email. Okay. Number 1, you need an email. Number 2, you need to be using email. Number 3, you need to get over the fact that you're not bugging people. Number 4, figure out what type of an email it's going to be. You could do nurturing emails, giving emails, and then you can do sales emails. You have to, because if you don't sell at some point in your email, like what's the point? And then the last thing that people always ask me is, okay, what do I put in the email? So real quick. All right. Here's some tips. Grab your pen and paper. First of all, number 1, make sure that you're using, that your business has its own email. Okay. I don't want you to be sending out business emails from Yahoo. I don't, it doesn't look good. If I got an email from a company that was trying to sell me, I can't even think of a good example at the time, but it was like from kr157@live.net or what, like, I'd be like, huh? No, spam every single day of the week. Please make sure that you're using something like Google Workspace. You're using like a Gmail account. Like, make sure it's a business email, that your personal stuff's going over here and your business stuff's going over here. Remember what I have said for 9 million years. You can actually quote me on this and put this on Instagram if you want. When you treat your business like a business, it'll pay you like a business. But if you're going to keep treating your business like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. So to treat it like a business means you have a business email. In Kansas City, I have an old email that's, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's at kc.rr.com. And so if you guys were getting my business emails from that, it doesn't look professional. And when it comes to business, perception is everything. People want to know that they're spending money with people that are actually running a legit biz. So have a legit email. Okay. You can use something, by the way, like ConvertKit or MailChimp if you're wanting to get started with sending emails you never have before. So for your actual email, there's a couple things that make up the actual email. Number one, you need a really good subject line. So if you have a business, I'm going to give you a suggestion right now. You ready? This is worth listening to this podcast in its entirety. I have a folder in my Gmail called Good Copy. And it's essentially emails that I have kept over the years because I feel like their titles are really great, or the angle that they came from was really great, or something like that. Okay. So let me give you like a couple lines. I have a confession to make. This was somebody's email. Special invite. Are you ready to change your life? No one wants to talk about this, but we need to. These are all titles of emails. This will change your life. Let me help you make $273 every day of the year. Like when I look at those, I'm like, those are really good. Those are good titles, right? Because here's what sometimes happens. We sit down to write an email and we're inspired and it's going to be fun and we're feeling froggy and, the birds are singing and the unicorns are jumping or whatever unicorns do. And then we sit down to do the email and we're like, I have no clue. I have no idea what to title it. I have nothing. So sometimes just having some inspiration saved in a folder on your desktop or on your phone or whatever, just so that you can be inspired by, oh, okay, so this says, this is titled, this email, read this only if you want to work with me. That's a good email title. Now you're saying to yourself, well, what would make a good email title? Well, what intrigues you? Like, instead of trying to always figure out what are the best words, why don't you instead think of, okay, if you're good at your business, it's because you get your clients. The reason that I am good at coaching is because I understand the women I'm coaching. I do. A lot of them, they love their family. They love Jesus. They are creative. So they're a hot mess. A lot of them are introverts. Like, you're my people. I get you. So when I think of, okay, so what do all the professionals say that I should name the email? I just want to throw up in my mouth a little bit over that. I mean, because I'm not that professional. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, I'm in a Nike workout tank and sports bra recording this podcast. I'm sure that this is a faux pas and somebody somewhere is going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that she's doing X. Well, whatever. Okay. I'm having plenty of success in my Nike tank top. So instead of trying to figure out how to get it perfect, what kind of an email would you open? What kind of a subject line would entice you? What would your audience like? Because if it would entice you, it'd probably entice them. So keep some stuff on your computer that you're like, oh, that was good. So that Red Dress Boutique, I buy a lot of clothes from them. I keep some of their emails. Why? Because even though their emails have to do with clothes, I find myself opening them. Silly headlines, silly subject lines like, this is the color everybody's wearing this year. Well, I've got FOMO. I want to know what color everybody's wearing this year. So before I know it, I'm opening up their stinking email and then I'm buying a stinking dress that's purple that I don't even need. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be just people in your industry. Save some stuff on your computer, get yourself a good subject line, but make it something that is fun for you too. Now, different people will say, can it have emojis? Well, some email providers like them, some don't. I love emojis in a good subject line. That's just me. So there's that. Okay. Number 2, do some storytelling in your email. Even if you are selling a product, you can still tell a story if you want. Don't make it boring is the bottom line. Things need to be fun and interesting to read. I prefer to look at emails that have funny GIFs in them, that have funny pictures in them. That's what I like. We tried for a season based on, the advice of a very good professional email person, having no photos, no GIFs or anything like that, because the open rates are supposed to be better. I hate them. They're ugly. I can't do ugly, friends. If you're watching on YouTube right now, look at my office. It's extra. It's over the top. I can't do ugly emails. I just can't. I can't do ugly emails. So make sure that in your body of your email that you have some storytelling or a creativity by way of a GIF, or, use a million exclamation points if you want to. Nobody can stop you. Nobody's the boss of your email. You can do whatever you want. If you want to say XOXOXOXO 100 times at the end, then say that. You've built a business because you wanted something that was yours, that you would have control over. And there's other reasons too, right? But don't forget that when you're sitting down to write your emails, you can do whatever you want. You can send it on a Tuesday at midnight. You can also send it on a Friday at 4 a.m. Like it's your world, babe. It's your world. So make your email interesting for people that actually want to read. If your email open rate is horrible, it might be because they're boring. And I love you, but I'm telling you the truth. And we've struggled with seasons of boring where we tried to get all fancy pants and, I've got a hummingbird right outside my window. Look at that. I am a actual squirrel that just gets so distracted. A lady that works for us put a hummingbird feeder right outside of my office window. It's so lovely, you guys. Hummingbirds are amazing. I don't know how they don't have heart attacks. Anyway, okay. Make your emails fun. All right, next. Know when to give versus when to sell. So there's a book by Gary Vaynerchuk, and which I have, and some of you are going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you listen to Gary. Listen, God can use anybody, right? And so yes, Gary may not be somebody whose language you agree with, mine neither, or work ethic, mine neither, okay? But still, he's got a great book. It's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it basically talks about the difference between giving to people. And then when you go to sell something, it's not like they're being caught off guard. So for those of you who aren't selling like a product like earrings or, signs or clothes, maybe you're more of a service like me, you're in coaching or something. So knowing when to give and knowing when to ask for a sale, ask for a credit card is really important. There's times when you just need to give good information. You just need to love on people. One of the reasons we've got so many people in my mastermind and in my monthly coaching group is because we try to give a lot of content here for free. And it makes people go, okay, if this is what she gives out for free, I wonder what she actually charges for. Like winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? So make sure that there are times when you're just giving away free things, tips, tools, some of your favorite people to follow, your favorite books you're reading, if it makes sense for your brand. Now, if it doesn't make sense for your brand, then don't do that. But make sure you're giving to your audience too, so that they don't always just feel like they're being sold to your emails. Now, it's different when, I'm going to keep going back to the Red Dress Boutique, when they just keep sending me emails for their cute dresses. Because I don't know who owns the Red Dress Boutique. So I don't care about her 5 favorite books of the summer, unless of course she's going to use Fear is Not the Boss of You. And then I really care, right? But so I don't care. Does that make sense? And so, so just know your audience, understand what you're selling. But if you're in more of a service type business like I am, you're an influencer, you are, your business is more about you, then people need to get to know you. And so make sure that you're giving sometimes so that they feel safer with you. Another point, I want you to make sure that you keep your avatar in mind when you're writing your emails, and write the email directly to her and not to all the people on your email list. So send it to Laura instead of 586 people on your list. Write it for her. Hey girl, listen, I get that it's the middle of summer and you're probably as busy as I am. Like, write it as if you're talking to the one person, because there's nothing worse than when I open up an email and I know that they've sent the same email to 9 million people. And so like the Red Dress Boutique, of course, I don't care about that. But let's say when somebody pitches me to be on my podcast, hey, Jennifer and the Fonts All Wackadoodle, we really loved the episode that you did with Amy Porterfield. Great points that you made. Hey, we think that maybe Alex, so-and-so would be a great fit for your audience. He's a psychic and he helps people, build their businesses. Okay. So if you actually listen to my podcast, you would know that I serve mostly women, that I have very few men that are guests, not because I'm anti-men, but just because I really am, I work with all women. And it's not that we're anti-men. I have mostly men in my coaching group. I speak mostly to, did I just say mostly men in my coaching group? Mostly women. I speak mostly to women on my podcast. So you would have to come from a different angle. Like, read the room. You should already know that I'm a believer, so I'm not going to have a psychic on my podcast. Does that make sense? Like, I know when an email that comes to me is just a blanket email that's been sent to 1 million people. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make your email sound like they're to one person in particular. And the last thing, force yourself to email consistently. There are some people that do show up in my inbox in their emails, and the only people that do this, by the way, are influencers If they are business coaches, they're coming regularly. If they have a product, they're coming regularly. I have many of the influencers I follow, and again, I could try to put together a list if you want that. They show up regularly, and I know when their emails will come. There's a few that only email when they've got something juicy, and that's fine too. What's important to me is that you just get into a rhythm where people either know what to expect. Either you're going to get on to a set schedule where every Tuesday at 6 you're sending something out, or you're just going to do whatever you feel like it, but don't do 3 weeks of consistency and then 3 months of nothing. And then you've got a month of consistent emails and you've got 6 weeks of nothing. Like that, it just confuses people. Does that make sense? So get some sort of a rhythm going. And so that people know what to expect. Last thing, if you're putting links into your emails, I just want to make sure that you're testing your links to make sure that they're not broken. There's nothing more annoying than when people get an email and links are broken. And then people have had a lot of really good luck in the past couple of years with saying, oops, that was broken. Sorry, let's try this again, and sending a second email. And now most of us are wise to the fact that sometimes there wasn't actually a broken link. They're just trying to get back into your inbox to sell you their group or whatever again. So if you're not wise to that, let me just give you an insider's tip. That's my Thurston Howell voice. An insider's tip. When you get those, oops, sorry about that emails, a lot of times it is actually an oops. And a lot of times they've been taught, send an oops email. It'll make people open it. And it works. Why does it work? Because you actually opened it, right? So there's that. Last thing, people want to ask me all the time about how many links are okay. Can I do GIFs? What's the open rate supposed to be? Yada, 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 yada. Okay. So you always want to shoot for at least a 20% open rate on your emails and above. Depending on your industry, sometimes you can get way higher than that. Depending on if you've got all the right people on your email list, then you can get higher than that. Depending on when you've last done a clean out and you're like, what? We literally just in my mastermind this week, we're talking about cleaning out email lists and when you need to do that and what are kind of best practices. It hurts to clean out an email list, especially if you're like me, you're like an Enneagram 3 and you love knowing that everybody loves you. And then you dump 10,000 people off your list and it kind of sucks the breath out of your lungs for a moment, but clean outs are necessary. So, but we were talking about like, how many links can we have? How many GIFs can we have? You know what? Try stuff, test things. What are the best dates and times to send out emails? Well, I don't know. When is your avatar most likely going to open an email? Is it 3:00 in the morning on a Wednesday, or will she be sleeping because she has kids and needs her rest? Does that make sense? Like knowing who you're sending things to and figuring out what works both for your audience and for you is so important with email. So I hope that was really helpful. I think this was helpful. If I was like, stuck in email frozen zone and was like, I just need somebody to tell me like what to do with my email, I think this would be a good podcast. I think it would. Send it to your friends. If you've got people who are starting a small business and you've heard them saying, hey, I think I'm going to start an email list too, send this to them if you want. And you really love me, you'll do a screenshot of this and put it on your Instagram stories and tag me. No, I'm kidding. But you might be my favorite. And I appreciate you. So thanks so much for being here, guys. Hope this was helpful to you and your list. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.